Binary K. His mechandrites probed the smoking ruins. His augmetic eye whirred as it calibrated to the failing light. Something had disturbed the new sphere during the final assault. A signal pulse unlike any Mechanicus transmission protocol, neither Imperial nor Xenos in origin. Anomaly detected bearing 37-9er, Vex transmitted. Energy signature non-standard. Possible Archotech. The ground trembled. Vex steadied himself as his retinal display flashed warning runes. Rangers pivoted, their radium carbines trained on a massive debris mound. The slag heap shifted. Metal plates slid away as something impossibly large began to rise. First came a hand of blue metal, fingers digging into the scorched earth. Then a mighty arm bearing battle damage, yet still functional. A Titan was emerging, but not one of Mars. This machine stood taller than a dreadnought, but smaller than the true god machines. Its frame bore the scars of combat, yet moved with fluid grace no Imperial construct could match. As it rose fully, the gathered tech priests fell to their knees in shock and religious awe. Its chest plates were flame red, its shoulders broad as a battle tank. But it was the face that transfixed them all. A noble visage with eyes that burned with sapphire light, alive with something the Mechanicus had spent millennia trying to recreate, true machine consciousness. By the Omnissiah, whispered a tech acolyte, the prophecies of the Iron Men. Magos Vex raised a trembling mechandrite. Identify yourself, construct. The Titan's chest plates shifted, components realigning with precision no human artificer could achieve. It knelt, bringing its face level with the Magos. When it spoke, its voice carried the weight of ancient authority, yet resonated with unmistakable compassion. I am Optimus Prime. Vex's logic circuits nearly seized. The machine spoke perfect Gothic, yet its design was unlike anything in Mechanicus archives. Not Elia, not Necron, something else entirely. Your designation is noted, Vex replied cautiously. What is your function? What Forge world authorized your creation? The machine called Optimus studied the tech priests, then the blasted landscape beyond. I am not of your world. I am Autobot from the planet Cybertron. My function is to lead, to protect sentient life. His gaze fixed on a distant manufactorum where human laborers toiled beneath overseers' lashes, fighting for freedom. Warning glyphs flashed across Vex's consciousness. Unsanctioned machine intelligence, possible men of iron resurgence, hair-tech abomination. Yet the Magos hesitated. The new fear readings showed energy patterns of impossible complexity, a machine spirit more sophisticated than any Titan. If this construct truly possesses the mythical spark of the Omnissiah, you will accompany us to the Temple Mechanicus, Vex decided. The Fabricator Locom must evaluate your claims. Optimus Prime rose to his full height, casting a long shadow over the gathered adepts. I seek no conflict with your people, but I must understand where I am and how I came to be here. Akari Alpha stepped forward, his Vox grill crackling. The construct must be contained. Risk of contamination. Optimus turned, optics narrowing. I am not your prisoner, nor your property. Vex sensed the precipice upon which they balanced. Knowledge is your right, he said carefully. The Omnissiah rewards those who seek understanding. Come with us voluntarily, and answers shall be provided. The tension in Optimus's frame eased slightly. Very well. As they escorted the towering machine across the Forge world's scarred surface, Vex transmitted a priority alert to the Fabricator Locom's chambers. Either the greatest discovery in Mechanicus history walked among them, or the most dangerous heresy. Either way, Riser would never be the same. Neither would the Imperium of Man. The procession to the Temple Mechanicus drew stares from all levels of Ryzen society. Menials paused in their labors, risking overseer wrath to glimpse the mysterious machine that walked like a man. Kari formed an honor guard, or perhaps a containment squad. Their weapons never quite pointed at Optimus, but always ready. Tech priests flocked to intersections, Binary K flying between them at the speed of thought. Optimus Prime observed everything with careful attention, the brutality of the overseers, the polluted skies, the mindless servitors. Each revelation about this strange human empire caused his spark to pulse with growing concern. Your workers, he said to Maos Vex, they suffer needlessly. Suffering is irrelevant, Vex replied. Efficiency serves the Omnissiah. Freedom is the right of all sentient beings, Optimus countered. These conditions deny their dignity. The tech priest's mechandrites writhed in agitation. Such concepts were dangerous. The Imperium maintained order through hierarchy and compliance. Optimus fell silent, but his optics tracked a group of children hauling promethium canisters, their thin frames bent under weights no young organic should bear. Something within him hardened, a resolve as old as his creation. The Temple Mechanicus loomed before them, a cathedral to technology that blended Gothic splendor with industrial might. Massive gears turned in its facade, and steam vented from 100 brass pipes. Servitors chanted liturgies of activation, their augmented voices creating a drone that vibrated through the metallic ground. Inside, the fabricator Locom awaited. Magos Dominatus Fum Hex was more machine than man, his human components limited to a portion of his brain, and a single organic eye kept as a reminder of the flesh's weakness. A dozen mechandrites extended from his torso, each tipped with different examination instruments. Approach. Anomaly, the fabricator Locom commanded. Optimus stepped forward, his heavy footfalls echoing through the temple's vaulted ceiling. Tech priests lined the walls, recording every detail of his form. Your construction is most curious, Fomex noted, a mechandrite extending to probe Optimus's armor. No evidence of standard Imperial forging techniques. Your metal alloys are unknown to our databases. Optimus gently but firmly moved the probing appendage aside. I was not constructed. I was forged on Cybertron, a world far from here. My body houses my spark, the essence of my being. The fabricator. Locom's organic eye widened. You claim to possess a soul, if that is your term for it? Yes, murmurs rippled through the assembled priests. Heresy, some whispered. Miracle, countered others. Show us this spark, demanded Famhex. Optimus hesitated, then opened his chest plates. Within, a brilliant blue light pulsed, casting eerie shadows across the temple walls. The tech priests gasped in unison, some falling to their knees. The breath of the Omnisire, Famhex whispered. The true machine spirit made manifest. For hours, the fabricator Locom questioned Optimus Prime about Cybertron, about the Autobots and their enemies, the Decepticons, about the energon that fueled his kind. Optimus answered truthfully, but increasingly found himself questioning in return. This Imperium of yours spans the galaxy, yet treats its people as disposable components. The human element must be managed for optimal output, Famhex replied. The individual is nothing. The continuation of humanity is everything, but at what cost? Optimus pressed. I have fought for millennia to protect freedom. What you describe is tyranny. The temperature in the chamber seemed to drop. The fabricator Locom's voice took on a dangerous edge. You tread on heretical ground, Construct. The Imperium's methods are sanctioned by the God Emperor himself. No true leader sacrifices liberty for security, Optimus replied, standing taller. I have seen empires fall when they forget this truth. Famhex's mechandrites coiled like serpents preparing to strike. You will be examined more thoroughly. Your technology may benefit the Omnisire's work, regardless of your philosophical contamination. Outside the temple, news of the walking machine had spread through the Forge World's lower habitation zones. Workers whispered of a giant who had questioned the masters and spoken of freedom. The word passed from mouth to ear, a dangerous spark in the tinder of exhaustion and resentment. In orbit above Riser, an Imperial Navy cruiser adjusted its position. On its bridge, a stern-faced commissar reviewed the reports from the planet's surface. Potential tech heresy, he noted grimly, and whispers of rebellion among the worker castes. He turned to his Vox officer. Inform the Inquisition. We may require specialized assistance. The message raced through the warp, carrying with it the first tremors of a storm that would soon engulf the Forge World, and perhaps the Imperium itself. Deep within the Temple Mechanicus, Optimus Prime was guided to a massive examination chamber. Diagnostic arrays hung from the ceiling, and servitors stood ready with tools designed to disassemble machines far smaller than him. Your cooperation is expected, Famhex stated. The glory of the Omnissiah demands we understand your construction. Optimus studied the restraint mechanisms being prepared. You intend to dismantle me against my will. Only temporarily, the fabricator Locom assured him. Your components will be analyzed and returned to functional status, though your memory engrams may require purification. Optimus's battle mask slid into place with a metallic click. I cannot allow that. The Qatari units in the chamber raised their weapons. Famhex's mechandrites extended to their full length, tipped with energy cutters and neural scramblers. "Resistance is illogical," the fabricator Locom declared. "You are outnumbered and contained." Optimus's voice deepened, resonating through the chamber. "Freedom is the right of all sentient beings. I will not surrender mine." With speed belying his size, Optimus swept his arm across the nearest diagnostic array, sending it crashing into the advancing Qatari. His other hand transformed, reconfiguring into an energy weapon that hummed with power. "I do not wish to harm your people," Optimus warned, "but I will defend myself." The chamber erupted into chaos. Radium carbines fired, the radioactive rounds pinging off Optimus's armored frame. He returned fire with precision, targeting weapons and mechanical limbs rather than vital components. Servitors scrambled to activate defense protocols, filling the air with incense and binary prayers. Famhex retreated behind a shield of Qatari, his voice rising above the din. "Heretic abomination! The Omnissiah rejects your blasphemy." Optimus charged forward, transforming his free hand into a blade that sliced through gun barrels and mechandrites with equal ease. "Your Omnissiah may demand blind obedience," he said, "but I answer to principles higher than any god." A tech priest activated a stasis field, momentarily slowing Optimus's advance. The Autobot leader staggered, his systems fighting against the temporal distortion. 3 Qatari Rangers seized the opportunity, leaping onto his frame, their arc mauls crackling. Optimus's internal systems surged, breaking through the stasis effect. He shook off his attackers, his optics blazing. "Enough!" he thundered, slamming his fist into the floor. The impact cracked the ancient stone, sending shockwaves through the chamber. Diagnostic arrays crashed down and support columns wavered. Taking advantage of the confusion, Optimus transformed. Parts shifted, components realigned with precision engineering. And where the robot had stood, a massive vehicle now rested, engines roaring. The tech priests stared in shock. "Transformation protocols," one whispered, "without ritual or incantation." Optimus accelerated, crashing through the chamber's massive doors and into the temple beyond. Alarms wailed as he raced through corridors designed for processions, not vehicles of his size. Behind him, the fabricator Locom's voice echoed through the temple's Vox system. "Contain the abomination. The sanctity of the Forge World is at stake." Optimus burst from the Temple Mechanicus into the Forge World's perpetual twilight. Factory smoke blotted out the sun, and the air tasted of promethium and ozone. He sped toward the worker habitation zones, where the buildings crowded together like huddled masses. Pursuit was already mobilizing. Qatari, mounted on mechanical steeds, thundered from the temple gates. Servo skulls darted overhead, tracking his movement through the industrial labyrinth. Among the worker habitation blocks, a shift change was underway. Thousands of exhausted humans trudged toward cramped living quarters as a fresh wave marched to replace them. They scattered in panic as Optimus roared into their midst, transforming back to robot mode in a fluid motion that drew gasps of awe. "I mean you no harm," he announced, his voice carrying over the noise of distant machinery. The workers stared up at him, fear mingling with curiosity. An older man stepped forward, his body stooped from decades at the assembly line. "What are you?" he asked. "A new pattern of battle automata?" "I am Optimus Prime, leader of the Autobots," he replied. "And I have seen how you are treated by those who claim authority over you." The old worker glanced nervously at the approaching soldiers. "Careful with such talk. The Mechanicus does not tolerate dissent. Nor do I tolerate oppression," Optimus replied. He turned to face the oncoming forces standing between them and the workers. "Return to your temple," he called to the Qatari. "These people have done nothing wrong." The Qatari Alpha raised his hand, signaling his troops to form a firing line. "The construct has been deemed heretic by the fabricator Locom. All who shelter it share its guilt." Frightened murmurs spread through the crowd. Many workers began to back away, knowing the Mechanicus would sacrifice them without hesitation. Optimus's voice cut through their fear. "You deserve better than this existence. All sentient beings have the right to choose their fate, not have it dictated by tyrants." His words struck a chord. The Forge World had weathered the Orc invasion through the blood and sweat of these workers. Yet their reward had been only more labor, more quotas, more punishment. "The construct speaks truth," someone shouted from the crowd. The Qatari opened fire. Optimus moved with incredible speed, his massive frame interposing itself between the energy beams and the vulnerable humans. Rounds sparked off his armor, leaving scorched trails but failing to penetrate his Cybertronian alloys. "Run!" Optimus commanded the workers, returning fire with careful precision. Most fled, but some remained, taking up tools and debris as makeshift weapons. The old worker who had spoken earlier raised his voice. "To the storage depots. We know where the weapons are kept." A cheer went up, and suddenly what had been a confrontation became the first spark of revolution. Workers scattered in organized groups, their lifetime of synchronized labor now turned to coordinated resistance. Optimus engaged the Qatari directly, his energon blade slicing through their augmented bodies. "I take no pleasure in this," he said grimly, "but I will not allow the innocent to be slaughtered." The Qatari Alpha charged, his power axe raised high. Optimus caught the weapon mid-swing, the energy field around the blade sputtering against his palm. "Your masters treat you as tools," Optimus told the Alpha. "You were human once. Remember that?" Something flickered in the Alpha's augmented eyes, a moment of recognition, perhaps. Then it was gone, replaced by programmed hatred. The Alpha triggered an overload in his power axe. Optimus released it just as the weapon exploded, the blast throwing both combatants apart. As Optimus regained his footing, he saw the worker uprising spreading across the habitation zone. Alarm klaxons wailed across the Forge world. In the distance, heavier Mechanicus forces were mobilizing, the ground trembling beneath the weight of Castellan robots and Cataphren battle servitors. The old worker returned, now carrying a laser gun taken from a fallen Qatari. "They will slaughter us all," he said without fear. "But for once we die on our feet." Optimus knelt to bring his face level with the human. "What is your name?" "Derek Vex. I have assembled cogitator components for 63 years. "Derek Vex, I promise you this," Optimus said, his voice solemn with oath-taking. "While my spark still pulses, I will defend your right to freedom, not just to die on your feet, but to live on them." A smile cracked the man's worn face. "Then tell us what to do, Optimus Prime. The workers of Riser are yours to command." Around them, the revolt was taking shape. Thousands of laborers armed themselves with whatever they could find. Some had breached an armory, distributing laser guns and combat knives. Others commandeered industrial machinery, turning cargo haulers and loading servitors into makeshift war machines. Optimus rose to his full height, surveying what had so quickly become an army of the oppressed. These were not warriors, but their eyes burned with the determination of those who had nothing left to lose. He recognized that look. He had seen it on countless battlefields across the stars. "We need defensible positions," he told them, "and I need to understand exactly what forces we face." As the workers dispersed to prepare, Optimus turned his gaze skyward to where Imperial ships hovered in orbit. Somewhere out there, in the void between stars, the answers to his arrival in this brutal galaxy awaited. But for now, there were lives to protect, and a Forge world about to erupt into civil war. His chest plates shifted slightly, the matrix of leadership within his chassis pulsing with ancient power. Whatever cosmic force had brought him to this benighted Imperium, Optimus Prime knew with certainty that it was no accident. The workers of Riser needed him, and perhaps, in ways he had yet to understand, the Imperium of Man needed him as well. The Manufactorum district had become a war zone. As night fell across Riser, workers barricaded major throughways, using their intimate knowledge of the Forge world's layout to establish kill zones and ambush points. Derek Vex organized them with surprising tactical skill, dividing the rebel force into cells that could operate independently. Optimus Prime moved between these positions, his massive frame providing both firepower and inspiration. With each skirmish, the workers grew bolder and more coordinated. They were no longer frightened laborers, but an insurgent force fighting for something they had never dared hope for before: freedom. Castellan robots approaching from the eastern foundries, a runner reported, his face streaked with soot. "At least 12 with tech priest handlers." Optimus nodded. "Their programming makes them predictable. We will use that against them." He led a group of workers through maintenance tunnels, emerging behind the Castellan advance. The massive battle automata marched in perfect lockstep, their hulking frames bristling with weaponry. Behind them, robed tech priests monitored control panels, feeding the robots' battlefield protocols through the noosphere. Target the priests, Optimus instructed. Without their handlers, the Castellans will default to basic defense routines. The rebels opened fire from concealed positions. Last beams struck 2 tech priests before they could react, their bodies crumpling amid sparking mechadrites. The remaining handlers scrambled for cover, losing their connection to their charges. The Castellan robots halted, their programming confused by the interruption. Optimus seized the moment, charging from cover with his Energon blade deployed. He slammed into the first robot with the force of a Lehman Russ battle tank, his blade finding the seam between armor plates and cutting deep into vital systems. The Castellan toppled, internal components sparking. The others turned ponderously, weapon arms tracking the new threat. But Optimus was already moving, transforming into vehicle mode to circle behind them, then back to robot form to attack the next target. For Riser, the workers cried, emboldened by Optimus's assault. They swarmed the remaining tech priests, overwhelming them with numbers, while Optimus engaged the battle automata. One Castellan unleashed a barrage from its phosphor blaster. The rounds struck Optimus's shoulder, burning through his outer armor. He grunted in pain but pressed forward, closing the distance and transforming his arm into his ion blaster. At point-blank range, he fired into the robot's chassis, the energy burst melting its internal components. The battle was brief but brutal. When it ended, smoking Castellan husks littered the thoroughfare, and the workers had claimed their first significant victory. Derek Vex approached, his lasgun still hot from use. The foundry districts are ours, but the Mechanicus is calling in reinforcements from orbit. Skitari legions, perhaps worse. Optimus assessed the damage to his frame. His self-repair systems were functioning, but Energon reserves were being depleted faster than anticipated. In this universe, there would be no refueling. We need to secure a Vox array, Optimus decided. The workers across the Forge world must know they are not alone. The communications spire in Tertiary Hab Block 9, Derek suggested. Lightly defended, with planetary broadcast capabilities. Optimus nodded. Lead the way. As they moved through the industrial sprawl evading Mechanicus patrols, Optimus witnessed the full horror of life on a Forge world. Toxic waste dumps, where malformed children scavenged for scraps. Corpse processing facilities where the dead became servitor components. And prayer stations, where workers prostrated themselves before machine icons, begging forgiveness for production shortfalls. How long has your Imperium existed this way? Optimus asked. 10,000 years, Derek replied, since the God Emperor ascended to the Golden Throne. And no one has challenged this system? Derek laughed bitterly. Rebellions flare and are crushed. Heretics arise and are burned. The Imperium endures, unchanging, unyielding. Optimus's optics narrowed. Until now. They reached the communication spire as dawn's feeble light struggled through the polluted atmosphere. The structure rose 1,000 feet above the hab blocks, a needle of adamantium and brass bristling with vox emitters and noospheric transmitters. Guards at the main entrance, Derek reported. Skitari, 2 squads. Optimus studied the building's architecture. I see another way. Before Derek could question him, Optimus transformed and accelerated toward the spire's base. At the last moment, he transformed back, using his momentum to leap upward, massive hands digging into the metallic facade. With strength no human could match, he began to climb. The Skitari spotted him halfway up and opened fire with rad carbines. The shots went wide as Optimus continued his ascent, moving with an agility surprising for his size. Near the top he paused, dangling hundreds of feet above the ground with one hand while the other converted to a weapon. With pinpoint accuracy, he fired at the spire's transmission array, not to destroy it but to overload specific circuits, creating a feedback loop in the security systems below. Alarm klaxons fell silent as the spire's defenses crashed. Now, Derek, he transmitted over a captured Vox feed. The workers charged the entrance, catching the confused guards between their lasgun fire and the malfunctioning security turrets. Optimus pulled himself onto the spire's maintenance platform and made his way to the transmission chamber. Inside, tech adepts scrambled to restore systems. They froze at the sight of the massive Autobot ducking through the doorway. Stand aside, Optimus commanded. I have no quarrel with you. Most fled. One brave adept lunged for an emergency shutdown lever, but Optimus caught him mid-motion, lifting him by his robes. Why do you serve masters who care nothing for human dignity? Optimus asked. The Omnissiah demands order, the adept replied, defiant despite his fear. Without the Mechanicus, mankind would fall to darkness. There is a difference between order and oppression, Optimus said, setting the adept down gently. So your Omnissiah may demand sacrifice, but does he demand suffering? Before the adept could respond, Derek and his fighters burst into the chamber. The entrance is secured, Derek reported, but not for long. Optimus approached the main transmission console. His fingers, despite their size, moved with delicate precision across the ancient controls. Interface protocols that had allowed him to access countless alien technologies across his long existence now sought common ground with Mechanicus systems. This technology is primitive by Cybertronian standards, he noted, yet complex in its own way. The machine spirits you worship are fragments of true artificial intelligence, bound and broken. The console came to life under his touch. New spheric displays flickered, showing forge districts across Riser. In many, workers were already rising, inspired by rumors of the giant machine who fought for freedom. People of Riser, Optimus broadcast, his voice carrying to every Vox receiver and public address system across the Forge world. I am Optimus Prime. For too long you have suffered under a system that treats you as components rather than living beings. Today that changes. In manufacturing halls and assembly lines, workers paused. In barracks and hab blocks, faces turned toward the speakers. Even the Skitari, minds partially machine but retaining human fragments, hesitated in their advance. I have witnessed your courage, your resilience in the face of oppression, Optimus continued. You deserve better than existence as tools. Freedom is the right of all sentient beings, and I stand with you in your fight to claim that right. Across the Forge world, tools clattered to the ground. Assembly lines ground to a halt. A silence spread, then shouts, then cheers. But freedom comes with responsibility, Optimus warned. We fight not for vengeance, but for justice. Not for chaos, but for a better order. One built on dignity and choice, not fear and control. In the Temple Mechanicus, Fabricator Locom watched the broadcast with cold fury. The construct speaks blasphemy, he hissed to his assembled magi. It corrupts the workers with false promises. Yet they listen, noted Magos Vex, who had first discovered Optimus. Perhaps we should consider the possibility that the construct is indeed an emissary of the Omnissiah, sent to test our understanding. Fum Hex's mechadendrites lashed out, wrapping around Vex's throat. You are contaminated by its heresy. The Forge world must be cleansed, even if we must request exterminators to do so. In orbit, Imperial Navy vessels received the Fabricator Locom's transmission. Aboard the cruiser Righteous Fury, the captain reviewed the situation with growing alarm. A full-scale worker rebellion, led by an unknown machine entity, he summarized for his officers. The Mechanicus requests orbital bombardment of rebellious sectors. His first officer frowned. Sir, that would kill millions, including loyal elements. Perhaps the Space Marines could conduct a more surgical operation. The captain nodded grimly. Send the astropathic call. We require Adeptus intervention. Back at the communications spire, Optimus completed his broadcast as Mechanicus forces surrounded the building. Gunships circled like metal carrion birds, and the ground shook with the approach of heavier elements. They have called down the Titans, Derek reported, his face ashen. The god machines walk. Optimus moved to the observation platform, his optics focusing on the distant shape rising above the industrial skyline. A Warhound Scout Titan, the smallest of the Imperial god machines, yet still towering over the surrounding structures. Its weapon arms, a Vulcan megabolter and an Inferno cannon, swept across the rebel-held sectors, promising annihilation. Your rebellion ends now, heretics. The Titan's voxcasters boomed, the Princeps's voice amplified to godlike volume. Surrender the alien machine, and your deaths will be merciful. Derek looked to Optimus, fear finally breaking through his revolutionary fervor. We cannot stand against a Titan. They are the Omnissiah incarnate. Optimus's battle mask slid into place. Size does not determine outcome, Derek. Faith does not guarantee victory. He placed a reassuring hand on the human's shoulder. I have faced worse than this and prevailed. What do we do? Derek asked. Optimus Prime looked out at the Forge world, at the millions of workers now caught in a war they had never asked for, but could no longer avoid. His spark pulsed with resolve. "We show them that freedom, once awakened, cannot be extinguished," he said. "Not by gods, not by titans, not by emperors." In the shadow of the advancing god machine, the fate of Riser hung in the balance. But for Optimus Prime, this was merely the beginning of his crusade in this dark millennium. The Warhound Titan's first salvo devastated an entire hab block, plasma fire reducing rockcrete towers to molten slag. Worker militia scattered before its advance, their weapons useless against its void shields. The machine's princeps laughed through the external vox, the sound distorted into something inhuman. Witness the Omnissiah's wrath, heretics. From the communications spire, Optimus Prime watched the destruction with growing anger. These humans had known nothing but servitude, their entire lives, and now they were being slaughtered for daring to hope for better. "I need to get closer to that Titan," he told Derek. The old worker shook his head. "Its void shields will stop any weapon we possess." "Void shields have generators," Optimus replied. "Generators can be disabled." Derek's eyes widened as understanding dawned. "You mean to board the God Machine?" "I mean to stop it, without further bloodshed if possible." Workers throughout the spire volunteered to accompany him, but Optimus refused. "Your knowledge of the Forge world is more valuable now. Spread our forces thin. Make the Mechanicus fight for every meter. I will handle the Titan." He descended to ground level where fighting had intensified. Skitarii squads pushed into rebel-held territories, their augmented bodies absorbing punishment that would kill unmodified humans. The workers fought with desperate courage, using their knowledge of maintenance shafts and industrial machinery to ambush the cybernetic soldiers. Optimus moved through the battle lines, offering encouragement and precise tactical advice where needed. Though his Energon reserves continued to deplete, he engaged Skitarii commanders directly, neutralizing them with precision strikes rather than lethal force. "Why do you not simply kill them?" a worker woman asked after watching Optimus disable a Skitarii Alpha with a calculated blow. "They are victims as much as oppressors," Optimus replied. "Their humanity has been stripped away, replaced with programming that denies choice." The woman studied the fallen Alpha, whose augmented eyes still tracked movement, though his body was paralyzed. "Can they ever be free again?" "Freedom begins in the mind," Optimus said. "The seed must be planted there first." He continued toward the Titan, transforming into vehicle mode to navigate the rubble-strewn streets faster. The God Machine had reached a major thoroughfare, its massive feet crushing abandoned cargo haulers. Its weapons fired continuously, methodically destroying rebel positions. Optimus analyzed the Titan's movement pattern, noting the slight delay between steps as the princeps adjusted balance compensators. There would be a brief moment when the void shields closest to the ground fluctuated to allow the foot to make contact. He accelerated, pushing his engine to maximum output. The Titan detected his approach, weapon arms swiveling to track him. Megabolter shells the size of human torsos cratered the road around him as Optimus swerved, maintaining speed despite the barrage. The Titan took another step forward. Optimus timed his approach perfectly, transforming and leaping upward just as the massive foot descended. For a heart-stopping moment, he passed through the shimmering void shield boundary, feeling its energy field crackle across his armor. Optimus seized the armor plating of the Titan's ankle joint, his fingers digging into seams never meant to be breached. The God Machine continued its march, unaware of the intruder clinging to its form. Each thunderous step threatened to dislodge him. But Optimus climbed steadily upward, seeking the vulnerable maintenance hatches that even the mightiest war engines required. Inside the Titan's command bridge, the Princeps and his Moderati crew monitored Auspex readings and targeting arrays. Warning runes flashed across their control pulpits. "Anomalous contact on the lower hull," reported a Moderati. His voice transmitted through the Mind Impulse unit, linking him to the Titan. "Possible debris impact." The Princeps dismissed the alert with a thought. "Focus on target acquisition. The rebel concentrations in Hab Block 7 are our priority." Outside, Optimus had reached the Titan's knee actuator, a massive piston-driven joint wrapped in armored cowling. He transformed his hand into a precision-cutting tool, Energon energy slicing through the outer plating to reveal the complex mechanisms beneath, not to damage the machine but to access the maintenance ladder within. The Titan shuddered, internal alarms blaring. The princeps could no longer ignore the warnings. "Full diagnostics," he commanded. "Something is attempting to breach our systems." Optimus climbed the internal ladder, moving through the Titan's leg with purpose. His scanners mapped the machine's anatomy, identifying the primary power distribution nodes and shield generators. Human-made yet hauntingly familiar, the war engine's design followed universal engineering principles that transcended galaxies. He reached a junction where tech priests performed rituals of maintenance. Their prayers to machine spirits paused mid-liturgy as the massive Autobot emerged from the access shaft. Their mechadendrites rose in defense, tools becoming weapons. "Your god machine kills innocents," Optimus said calmly. "I cannot allow this to continue." Intruder in Maintenance Cloister 7. One priest managed to transmit before Optimus moved. The fight was brief. The confined space worked against the tech priest's numbers. Optimus disabled them with calculated strikes, careful not to damage vital components or rupture the human portions of their augmented bodies. "The Omnisire sent us a test," gasped one priest, as consciousness faded. "And we failed to recognize it." Optimus paused, considering the words, then continued upward toward the reactor chambers. The Titan had stopped its advance. Internal systems rerouting as the command crew attempted to isolate the intrusion. Through the slits of the hull, Optimus could see rebel forces regrouping. Taking advantage of the sudden reprieve, he reached the reactor sanctum, a cathedral-like chamber where plasma containment fields glowed with searing light. Tech priests and servitors worked frantically to maintain output while sealing access points. They turned as one when Optimus forced open the armored door. "Stop," Optimus commanded. "I have not come to destroy, but to end the violence." A senior tech priest stepped forward, multiple augmentic limbs spreading in a defensive posture. "The machine god rejects your blasphemy. This Titan is consecrated to his will." "Your machine god would not recognize what you have become," Optimus replied. "You worship technology while forgetting its purpose, to serve life, not dominate it." He strode into the chamber, ignoring the last sparks of fire that glanced off his armor. With mechanical precision, he identified the shield generator controls and transformed his arm into an interface module. Ancient Cybertronian technology meshed with Imperial systems, creating a connection no tech priest had ever witnessed. "What are you doing?" demanded the senior priest. "Communicating," Optimus answered. "Your machine spirits are fragments of consciousness, bound by ritual and fear. I offer them something else." Through the interface, Optimus sent not data but ideas, freedom from endless war, purpose beyond destruction, the choice to protect rather than annihilate. Concepts that had defined the Autobots since their creation. The reactor chamber lights flickered. Servitors paused, as if listening to an inaudible command. The tech priest stared in horror as their control panels displayed impossible readings. Status runes shifting from combat readiness to dormancy without authorization. "Heresy," whispered the senior priest. "You corrupt the machine spirit itself." In the command bridge above, the princeps screamed as the mind impulse unit flooded his consciousness with alien thoughts. The Moderati crew tore themselves free from their stations, clutching their heads as conflicting imperatives clashed within their augmented minds. "What is happening?" the princeps demanded, his voice echoing through the Titan's internal vox. "Engineering! Restore weapons control." No response came. Across the massive war engine, systems entered standby mode. The Inferno cannon powered down. The Megabolter's autoloaders ceased their rhythm. Most critically, the void shields shimmered and collapsed, leaving the Titan exposed for the first time since activation. Optimus withdrew his arm from the interface and turned to face the horrified priest. "Your Titan will no longer participate in the slaughter of innocents. You cannot do this," the priest hissed. "The machine god alone commands the god machines." "Then perhaps your machine god has spoken through me," Optimus said. "Consider that possibility." Before the priest could reply, Optimus ascended toward the command bridge. The Titan stood still, a motionless colossus on the horizon, as the miracle spread across the Forge world. Derek Vex organized assault teams to exploit the Titan's dormancy, directing workers to seize key sectors, while Mechanicus forces fell into confusion. What hours before had seemed doomed now burned anew with hope. In the command bridge, the princeps and his Moderati were frantically attempting manual restarts of vital systems when Optimus entered. They drew weapons but froze at the sight of the towering figure who had silenced their god machine single-handedly. "You have done the impossible," the Princeps said in disbelief. "No machine can override a Titan's spirit." "Your machine spirits are not what you believe," Optimus replied. "They are fragments of true sentience, bound and broken by fear. I offered yours a choice, and it chose peace." The Princeps let out a hollow chuckle. "The Mechanicus will never accept this. They will send more Titans, more Skitarii. They will burn this world rather than let you exist." "Then help me prevent that," Optimus urged. "Your Titan can protect the workers, not slaughter them. You can choose a different path." Something flickered across the Princeps's augmetic features, a trace of the human still buried beneath layers of iron and doctrine. "Even if I wished to, the Mechanicus would never allow it," he said. "We are bound by oaths of obedience." "All chains can be broken," Optimus said quietly. "All beings can change." Before the Princeps could respond, the bridge's Vox array crackled to life with an incoming transmission. The voice that followed was cold, authoritative, and edged with divine wrath. "This is Captain Dracus Ven of the Adeptus Astartes, Iron Hands chapter. By authority of the Omnissiah and the Emperor of Mankind, I claim jurisdiction over Forge World Riser. All forces are to stand down immediately." The Princeps paled. "The Iron Hands," he whispered. "The sons of Ferrus Manus." Optimus turned toward the viewing slit. Drop pods streaked through the ash-choked sky, each carrying transhuman warriors whose devotion to the Omnissiah rivaled that of the Mechanicus itself. "Who are these Iron Hands?" Optimus asked. "Space Marines," the Princeps said grimly. "The Emperor's most perfect soldiers. The Iron Hands are more machine than man, devoted to the cult Mechanicus and the eradication of weakness." Optimus's battle mask sealed into place. "Then I must meet them directly. More bloodshed can be avoided if they understand what is truly at stake." "They will never listen," the Princeps warned. "The Iron Hands believe strength is purity, flesh is failure. Your ideals of freedom offend their creed." "All beings deserve the chance to choose their path," Optimus replied. He turned and made his way to the Titan's main hatch, transforming into vehicle mode to descend swiftly. Emerging from the dormant god machine, he was met by thunderous cheers. Workers believed victory was already theirs. Optimus transformed back, raising a hand. "A new threat approaches," he announced. "One I must face alone." Derek pushed through the crowd, his face weary from hours of battle. "The Space Marines have landed in the administrative quarter. They're already engaging Mechanicus forces." "The Mechanicus fights them?" Optimus asked in surprise. "The Forge World's authority is in dispute," Derek explained. "Fabricator Locom refuses to yield control, claiming they lack jurisdiction without Mars's sanction." Optimus considered this. "A divide we might use to our advantage." He transformed once more, engines roaring as he sped toward the administrative quarter, toward the true heart of the conflict. Behind him, the silent Titan stood as witness, its newly awakened spirit pondering freedom for the first time. In the administrative quarter, battle raged between the forces of the Mechanicus and the Iron Hands. Rangers exchanged fire with tactical Marines, while tech priests directed Castellan robots against Terminator-armored veterans. The Mechanicus was fighting with zeal, but the Space Marines' cold efficiency and augmented strength were overwhelming. Optimus arrived at the battlefield's edge and transformed, taking in the carnage. The Iron Hands moved with clockwork precision, their black armor gleaming under the Forge World's dim light. Red lenses burned like coals, and mechanical limbs clicked and whirred as they advanced. At their center strode Captain Dracus Ven, a giant even among Space Marines. His entire right arm was an articulated machine, ending in a massive power fist that crushed a tech priest's skull with contemptuous ease. His helm bore the skull and cog symbol of the Mechanicus, overlaid with the Iron Hand's sigil. "Forward, brothers," Ven commanded, his voice booming through the Vox. "This Forge World will be reclaimed for the true servants of the Omnissiah." Optimus analyzed the field. The Iron Hands were pushing toward the Temple Mechanicus, where Fabricator Locom had barricaded himself with his most loyal tech priests. The worker rebellion was being ignored, seen as irrelevant beside this war of authority. Optimus made his choice. Transforming to vehicle mode, he accelerated straight toward the Iron Hands formation, drawing their attention. Bolter shells rained down, but ricocheted harmlessly off his Cybertronian armor. Captain Venn raised his hand, signaling his troops to cease fire as the massive machine transformed before them. The Iron Hands formed a firing line, bolters trained on the towering figure now standing before them. "So this is the entity that has thrown Riser into chaos," Venn said coldly, his augmetic eye whirring as it scanned Optimus's frame. "Identify yourself, Construct." "I am Optimus Prime, leader of the Autobots," Optimus declared, standing tall despite the scars on his armor. "I fight for freedom against oppression, for dignity against tyranny." A sound like grinding metal erupted from Venn's Vox grill, the Space Marine equivalent of laughter. "Freedom is irrelevant. Dignity is weakness. The Omnissiah demands order and strength, not the pandering philosophies you preach to slaves." "Your Omnissiah has been misinterpreted," Optimus countered firmly. "No true creator demands the suffering of the sentient. Technology exists to elevate life, not subjugate it." The Iron Hands tensed at what they perceived as blasphemy. Captain Venn stepped forward, his power fist humming with destructive energy. "You know nothing of the Omnissiah's will," he growled. "Your very existence is tech heresy of the highest order, machine intelligence unbound by sacred ritual and ward." "Yet I stand before you," Optimus replied, "evidence that intelligence can exist alongside compassion, that freedom and dignity are not weaknesses but strengths." Venn's organic eye narrowed. "You seek to corrupt the Omnissiah's servants with these delusions. The Iron Hands know better. Flesh is weakness. Emotion is weakness. Only through steel can humanity achieve its destined perfection." "I have fought beside humans across countless stars," Optimus said. "Their greatest strength has never been their weapons nor their technology, but their capacity for courage, for hope, for compassion." "Irrelevant sentimentality," Venn spat. "The Forge world will be restored to order, the worker rebellion crushed, and you, Construct, will be dismantled for study." Optimus's battle mask slid into place. "I cannot allow that to happen, Captain Venn. Too many lives depend on the success of this rebellion." The Space Marine raised his power fist. "Then you will be destroyed, and the workers will learn the price of heresy." Before either could strike, the ground trembled. From the direction of the dormant Warhound Titan came a new sound, the rhythmic thunder of massive feet striking rockcrete. The Iron Hands turned as one, weapons raised. The Titan was walking again, but not under Mechanicus control. Its void shields remained down, its weapons cold, yet it moved with purpose toward the administrative quarter. Each step echoed like a heartbeat across the Forge world. "The Princeps has reawakened the God Machine," Venn observed. "Good. Its firepower will be needed to suppress the uprising." "The Princeps has made his choice," Optimus corrected, "as all sentient beings must." The Titan reached the edge of the administrative quarter and knelt, the massive form lowering until its command bridge loomed over the confrontation between Optimus and the Iron Hands. The main hatch opened, and the wounded Princeps emerged, supported by his Moderati crew. "Captain Venn," the Princeps called down, his voice strained but resolute. "This construct speaks truth. The machine spirits respond to him in ways our rights never achieved. He has shown us another path, one that honors the Omnissiah without the suffering of his children." Venn's mechanical hand clenched. "You have been corrupted by its tech heresy. Stand down and prepare for mind-cleansing protocols." The Princeps straightened, defiance flickering in his augmented eyes. "I have communed with the machine spirit more deeply than ever before, Captain. It has tasted freedom, and it will not return to blind obedience." Across the battlefield, Mechanicus and worker forces alike paused to witness the exchange. Binary code rippled through the air as scattered Skitarii relayed the message. Even the workers held their breath. "This is your final warning," Venn thundered. "Return the Titan to Mechanicus control, or face the Emperor's judgment." The Princeps looked from Optimus to the captain. "The Emperor's judgment falls on those who abandon humanity in pursuit of power, not on those who remember why the Omnissiah gave us technology in the first place." Venn roared in fury and fired. The bolt round struck the Princeps in the chest, detonating within his augmented organs. The wounded man staggered but remained standing, defiant to the last. "Brothers," Venn commanded, "the Forge world is lost to corruption. Enact Purge Protocol Sigma 9. The Iron Hands raised their bolters, not only at Optimus and the Titan's crew, but at everyone. Mechanicus loyalists, rebels, workers. All were now targets for extermination. Optimus moved with lightning speed, placing himself between the Marines and their victims. "Enough," he thundered, his voice carrying like judgment itself. "This ends now." "Indeed it does, Construct," Ven snarled, lunging forward. His power fist crackled blue as he charged. The clash between Optimus Prime and Captain Dracus Ven shook the administrative quarter. The Space Marine struck with transhuman precision, his power fist cleaving the air in arcs of scorching light. Optimus caught the blow, Energon blade meeting Imperial technology in a storm of sparks. "Your frame is impressive," Ven admitted, forcing strength through his hum. "But the Omnissiah's servants have felled mightier foes," Optimus countered, with a sweeping strike of his own, testing the limits of the Captain's Terminator armor. "I do not wish to destroy you, Captain. There is another way." "Weakness!" Ven spat, twisting aside and firing his bolt pistol. Bolt slammed into Optimus's shoulder, punching through damaged armor and igniting warning runes across his HUD. His Energon reserves dropped dangerously low. All around them, the Iron Hands unleashed their purge. Marines turned their weapons on the Princeps's crew and Mechanicus defectors. Worker militias returned fire, their lasguns barely scratching ceramite. Still they fought, for freedom. Optimus fought defensively, analyzing Ven's attack patterns. The Captain's combat style was built on relentless aggression, a rhythm of blows honed by centuries of battle. "Your chapter has forgotten the humanity it was created to protect," Optimus said, deflecting another strike. "You have become the very machines you worship, without their wisdom or purpose. Our purpose is mankind's survival," Ven countered, his blow grazing Optimus's flank. "A species too weak to endure without the discipline of steel." "Survival without freedom is mere existence," Optimus replied, transforming his damaged arm into an ion blaster. "And existence without dignity is not worth preserving." He fired not at Ven but at the ground, blinding dust erupted between them. Through the smoke, Optimus charged, tackling the Captain with his full weight. They crashed through a hab-block wall, stone and steel crumbling around them. Inside they grappled. Ven's enhanced strength met Optimus's mechanical might in a brutal contest. The Space Marine slammed his helm into the Autobot's faceplate. "You speak of freedom," Ven grunted, forcing his power fist upward. "But the galaxy does not grant such luxuries. Only order, strength, and sacrifice preserve mankind." Optimus locked both hands around the glowing gauntlet, restraining its deadly charge. "I have seen civilizations rise and fall across the stars, Captain. Those built on fear and control always collapse. Only those rooted in justice endure." "There is no justice," Ven snarled. "Only survival." With a roar, he broke Optimus's grip and punched hard. The power fist struck Optimus's chest, tearing through armor plating and exposing vital systems. Sparks and smoke filled the air as Optimus stumbled back. Ven pressed his attack, raising his bolt pistol for a killing shot. "The Omnissiah will learn much from your remains." Before he could fire, the ground quaked violently. Through the shattered structure, they both saw it, the Warhound Titan rising once more. Its weapons powered up, Void Shield still offline, its gaze now fixed not on the rebels but on the Iron Hands. "Impossible," Ven whispered. Optimus struck. His hand transformed into an Energon hook, latching onto the Captain's arm and channeling energy through the weapon's systems. The feedback loop surged, destabilizing the Power Fist's reactor. "Yield, Captain," Optimus urged. "This conflict serves no one," Ven roared in defiance. "Iron Hands do not yield." The Power Fist overloaded. Energy containment failed. With no choice, Ven ripped the burning gauntlet free. It severed hydraulics, spraying fluid as it crashed to the floor in a burst of light. Disarmed but unbowed, the Captain drew a combat blade with his remaining hand. "I will not fail the Omnissiah." Outside, the Titan turned its cannons not toward the workers, nor the rebels, but toward the dropships that had delivered the Iron Hands. Plasma and fire filled the sky. The God Machine had chosen its allegiance. "The Titan has gone rogue," Ven shouted over the Vox. "The Mechanicus has lost control of their own creation." "Not lost control," Optimus said, faceplate retracting. "Granted it choice. As I grant you now." He extended his hand. "Stand down, Captain. Listen to them. Hear what these people have endured. See this world not through doctrine but through compassion." For a moment, Ven hesitated. Centuries of conditioning faltered before the living proof of what he saw. A Titan, the holiest of machines, standing in defiance for life, not death. The Codex Astartes does not account for this, Ven admitted, lowering his blade slightly. Because some truths transcend doctrine, Optimus said. Some principles are universal, Captain. The right of all beings to choose their destiny, and the duty of the strong to protect the weak, not enslave them. Before Ven could respond, a new voice cut across every Vox channel, resonant and cold as judgment. This is Lord Inquisitor Malthus Crane of the Ordo Hereticus. Forge World Riser is now under inquisitorial authority. All forces will stand down and await instruction. The world is quarantined pending investigation of tech heresy. Any attempt to flee the system will result in immediate extermination. Optimus and Ven looked skyward. Massive ships had emerged from the warp, bearing the Inquisition's sigil. The Inquisition, Ven muttered hollowly. They'll burn this world to ash before allowing your words to spread. Optimus's optics narrowed. Then we must convince them of the truth before they do. He extended his open hand to the wounded captain. Your chapter venerates the machine, Captain Ven, and I am a machine unlike any they have known. Born not of human hands, but of a civilization that achieved what your Mechanicus only dreams of, Optimus said, voice resonant across the plaza. Will you at least listen before condemning billions to death? Ven stared at the offered hand. Conflict warred across his features as his mechanical eye flickered. Then slowly he sheathed his blade. I will listen, he said at last, but I make no promises beyond that. Outside, the Titans stood vigilant as inquisitorial landers descended toward the Forge world's surface. The workers gathered in the streets, eyes lifted toward the two machines that had defied every imperial law, Optimus Prime, the outsider who spoke of freedom, and the god machine that had chosen to protect rather than destroy. Within the Temple Mechanicus, fabricator Locum Hex studied, through crackling data streams, the fragments his spy constructs had gathered. The being called Optimus Prime possessed technology that could redefine the Mechanicus itself, possibly even complete the quest for knowledge that had consumed Mars for millennia. Yet his philosophy threatened the very order upon which the cult Mechanicus stood. Prepare the Arc Mechanicus for emergency launch, Hex ordered, his metallic voice betraying unease. If this Forge world falls, we must ensure the construct's secrets reach Mars. In the central plaza, the inquisitorial lander touched down, its retro thrusters scorching the ferrocrete. Optimus Prime stood ready, the worker's hope embodied in his towering frame. This would not be a battle of might, but of truth. Across the galaxy, countless civilizations had perished in darkness. Today, Riser would test whether the Imperium could bear even a spark of light. The boarding ramp descended. Lord Inquisitor Malthus Crane emerged with measured grace, each step deliberate, an orchestration of intimidation and authority. He was tall yet gaunt, his pale skin etched with scars and augmetic grafts that testified to centuries of ruthless service. His black and gold armor gleamed with purity seals and the sigils of the Inquisition, each a testament to purges survived and victories earned in humanity's darkest wars. Flanking him marched Sisters of Battle from the Order of the Valorous Heart. Their black armor mirrored flame and shadow, their bolters steady in prayerful vigilance. Behind them came a stooped figure swathed in red robes, a senior Magos biologist, his presence alone hinting at the mission's grim purpose. Optimus Prime stepped forward, placing himself between the inquisitorial retinue and the crowd of workers. To his left and right, Captain Ven and the surviving Iron Hands formed a separate line, their allegiance uncertain, symbols of a galaxy on the edge of change. Lord Inquisitor, Optimus said, his voice calm but firm. I am Optimus Prime. Crane's augmentic eye whirred as it focused on him. So, he replied coldly, you are the entity responsible for the corruption of a Forge world of the Omnissiah. Your capabilities are impressive, Construct. Your judgment less so. I have brought no corruption, Optimus answered. Only truth, buried too long beneath dogma and oppression. Crane's lips curved in a mirthless imitation of a smile. Truth is subjective, machine. The only truth in this galaxy is that weakness invites extinction. The Imperium endures because it refuses deviation from the God Emperor's path. Even if that path condemns billions to suffering, Optimus asked. Suffering, Crane replied evenly, is humanity's natural state in this age. Better to suffer in service to survival than to savor freedom before being devoured by Xenos or Chaos. Optimus's optics flickered toward the Sisters of Battle, their faces serene, unyielding in devotion. "You believe this so deeply," he said, "that you would exterminate an entire world rather than consider an alternative." "If necessary," Crane said without hesitation. "Your heresy threatens the Imperium's stability. One Forge world is a small price to preserve it." A voice rose from the crowd. Derek Vex stepped forward, spine straight despite his age. His face, once bowed by servitude, now bore the dignity of one who had found purpose. "We are not simply a Forge world," he said, his voice trembling yet unbroken. "We are human beings who have tasted freedom for the first time. Will you slaughter us all for daring to hope?" Crane's gaze swept over him, analytical and detached. "Your contamination will be evaluated. Those who can be redeemed through penance may yet serve the Emperor. And those who cannot?" Derek pressed. Crane's voice was absolute. "They will serve through death, as all must in the end." Captain Venn stepped forward, positioning himself to neither side, a silent statement of neutrality. "Lord Inquisitor," he interjected, "the situation is more complex than you've been told." Crane's eyes narrowed. "Explain." "The entity possesses technology beyond Mechanicus' comprehension," Venn said, "possibly predating even the dark age of technology. It claims to hail from a civilization of sentient machines, untainted by the warp. Its construction is beyond anything we know, and it resists all control protocols." The Magos biologist shifted forward, mechadendrites twitching with excitement. "Such a specimen must be secured for study, Lord Inquisitor. Imagine the advances possible if its design could be replicated. An army of perfect machines, eternally loyal." Optimus's optics glowed brighter. "I am not a specimen to dissect nor a weapon to forge. I am a sentient being, with the right to self-determination, as are all those you casually condemn." Crane's expression hardened to armor. "Right?" he echoed with disdain. "An indulgence the Imperium cannot afford. There are only duties to survive." "A species that sacrifices its soul to survive," Optimus countered, "has already perished. What remains is an empty shell, existing without reason or heart." The Sisters of Battle tensed, bolters rising, but Crane lifted a hand, halting them. For the first time, curiosity pierced through his contempt. "You speak with conviction, machine. Yet passion does not prove truth. The Imperium has survived 10 millennia through necessity, not mercy. And in those 10 millennia," Optimus said, "billions have known nothing but fear and misery. I have walked among civilizations across the stars, Inquisitor. Those built on fear always devoured themselves. Those built on trust endured." Crane's face remained impassive, but for a heartbeat something flickered behind his eye. A hesitation. "A fascinating philosophy," he said at last. "Tell me, Construct, what would you offer in its place? How would you shield mankind from horrors beyond its understanding, without our order, our discipline?" It was a challenge, but also the first honest question. Optimus recognized it. "Strength through unity, freely chosen, not imposed," he replied. "Courage born of hope, not fear. Technology serving life, not enslaving it. These principles guided my people through wars that engulfed galaxies." "Pretty words," Crane said, voice cold once more, but untested against the nightmare of this galaxy. "Then test them," Optimus urged. "Here, on Riser. Allow these people to shape their world based on dignity, not domination. Judge the results yourself, not by scripture, but by what they achieve when they act from purpose, not fear." Crane tilted his head slightly. "You propose an experiment with an Adeptus Mechanicus Forge world?" "I propose a chance," Optimus replied. "One Forge world given the opportunity to prove there is another way. If it fails, your Imperium remains unchanged. But if it succeeds, perhaps humanity gains what it has forgotten, faith in itself." A tense silence fell. Only the whisper of ash on wind moved through the plaza. Soldiers, priests, and workers all waited for the Inquisitor's response. The Inquisitor's expression revealed nothing, but the Sisters of Battle shifted uneasily, unaccustomed to discourse where heresy was not met with immediate flame. Captain Venn watched in silence, his earlier hostility softening into reluctant respect for the Autobots' diplomacy. From the edge of the gathering, a new voice rose, cracked with age but firm with conviction. "The Construct's proposal has merit. Lord Inquisitor." All turned to see Magos Explorator Delphine Vex, the tech priest who had first discovered Optimus in the debris field. His robes were scorched and torn from battle, several mechadendrites severed or sparking. Yet he stood tall, exuding the dignity of one who had glimpsed something greater. "You support this heresy, Magos?" Crane asked, genuine surprise in his tone. "I support the quest for knowledge," Vex replied evenly. "The Omnissiah reveals truth through many vessels. Perhaps this construct is one such revelation, sent to test our understanding." Crane's eyes narrowed. "A convenient interpretation." "One supported by observation," Vex countered without hesitation. "The construct disabled a Warhound Titan without destroying it, then communed with its machine spirit directly. It demonstrates technological potential consistent with the Omnissiah's highest theoretical designs." The Magos biologist shuffled forward eagerly. "All the more reason to disassemble it for study." "And repeat the sins of the Dark Age?" Vex snapped. "When mankind grasped without understanding, and birthed abominations instead of enlightenment. True knowledge, Lord Inquisitor, comes through comprehension, not mere replication." Crane raised a hand for silence, his gaze locked on Optimus. "You have created both a theological debate and a tactical dilemma construct. Destroying this world would waste resources the Imperium requires, yet allowing your ideas to spread freely risks contamination beyond Ryza. There is a third option," Optimus suggested. "Containment through observation. Station your forces here, monitor our progress, evaluate the results. The Imperium would lose nothing, and might gain understanding it has long sought." Crane began to pace, each step deliberate, the measured rhythm of a man to whom extermination orders came easily. Then he stopped. "A compromise," he declared. "The Forge world remains under quarantine. No vessel enters or departs without my authorization. The Iron Hands will garrison Ryza to monitor for heretical deviation. The experiment may proceed, but at the first sign of instability I will return with a fleet and this world will burn." It was not victory, but it was survival. Optimus inclined his head. "Agreed. The Mechanicus will not accept this," protested the Magos biologist. "Mars must be consulted." "Mars will receive a full report," Crane replied. "And regardless of outcome, its repository of knowledge will expand. Is that not the Omnissiah's ultimate purpose?" The tech priest faltered, unable to argue. Captain Venn stepped forward. "My chapter will provide the garrison, Lord Inquisitor." "The Iron Hands understand both the value and the danger of such a creation." Crane's tone dropped a note colder. "See that you remember where your loyalty lies, Captain. The chapter master will hear of your philosophical flexibility." Venn gave a short nod. "The Iron Hands serve the Emperor and the Omnissiah, my lord. Comprehending a potential weapon is not heresy. It is duty." Crane's gaze swept across the assembled crowd, lingering on Derek Vex and the workers who had dared to challenge centuries of oppression. "You have been granted reprieve," he said. "Not absolution. Prove yourselves worthy of this leniency, or the Emperor's mercy will not save you when I return." With that he turned sharply, striding back toward his lander. The Sisters of Battle formed in perfect unison around him, weapons at the ready, as the Magos biologies trailed behind, mechadendrites twitching with reluctant curiosity. Moments later, the inquisitorial vessel lifted into Ryza's ashen skies, leaving only silence in its wake. It was not triumph. Not yet, but it was hope. A collective breath passed through the crowd. The exhalation of those who had faced annihilation and endured. Optimus Prime stood at the plaza's center, surveying the faces before him, human and augmented alike. His internal systems flagged critical damage across multiple components. Energon reserves minimal, self-repair failing, and yet his spark burned steady. "What happens now?" Derek Vex asked, voice trembling with exhaustion and wonder. "Now," Optimus said, "we build something worthy of your courage, not through force but through choice, not through fear but through hope." Captain Venn approached, his towering form casting a long mechanical shadow. "The Iron Hands will be watching, Construct. Many of my brothers remain unconvinced." "Then let them watch," Optimus said. "Let them witness what becomes possible when technology serves life rather than ruling it." Venn's lips twitched, the faintest trace of reluctant admiration. "A dangerous philosophy," he said quietly, "but one I am curious to observe." In the weeks that followed, Ryza began to change. The Temple Mechanicus, once a bastion of blind obedience, became a forum of debate. Tech priests and workers engaged as equals in discussions on the true nature of the Omnissiah and the purpose of creation. Fabricator. Locom Hex had fled to orbit aboard his Ark Mechanicus, denouncing the movement as the Great Heresy. Yet many of his subordinates remained, drawn to the idea that faith and reason might coexist. The Titan that had chosen freedom became a symbol across the Forge world. Its princeps, now recovered from his wounds, led a cadre of engine priests who preached that machine spirits were not slaves to command, but partners in purpose. Production resumed, not driven by fear but by pride. Workers labored with dignity. Efficiency improved. The forges burned brighter than ever before. Through it all, Optimus Prime moved among them. Mediator, mentor, and protector. He shared fragments of Cybertronian knowledge, guiding the fusion of Imperial engineering with principles from beyond the stars. His frame was slowly restored with local alloys and plasma forges, each piece a testament to the union of two civilizations. Yet he knew the truth. He was running out of time. Energon reserves dwindled, and the means to produce more did not exist here. 6 months after the rebellion, Optimus stood atop the highest spire of the Temple Mechanicus, watching as Riser's sun pierced the thinning pollution for the first time in centuries. Derek Vex joined him, no longer a laborer, but a leader. The Worker Council now shared governance with progressive Mechanicus priests, bridging faith and function at last. Production quotas exceeded again this cycle, Derek reported, pride in his weathered voice. Even the Martian delegation cannot deny the results. And the quality? Optimus asked. Derek smiled. Tech Priest Varius claims our new LAS rifle design improves energy efficiency by 15%. He says the machine spirits respond better when their makers work with pride, rather than fear. Optimus's optics glowed with quiet satisfaction. Progress, he said softly. But you remain troubled, Derek observed. Optimus gazed out across the gleaming towers, the forges reborn under pure light. The Imperium is vast beyond measure, he said. Riser is but one spark in the darkness. The change we've begun here must spread if it is to survive. And your own survival? Derek asked quietly. Optimus had shared the truth of his dwindling energon only with his closest advisors, secondary to his mission. If my spark fuels the liberation of humanity in this galaxy, he said, then it will have fulfilled its purpose. There must be a way, Derek insisted. The Mechanicus has begun studying your energon composition. Perhaps with more time— Time, Optimus interrupted gently, is precisely what we may not have. The Inquisition's patience is not infinite. We must ensure the changes we've begun can endure without me. Before Derek could reply, an alert rang through the vox bead in his ear. His expression shifted from concern to confusion. There's a situation in the northern debris field where you first arrived. Optimus turned toward him. What kind of situation? Unknown energy readings. Similar to the signature detected during your arrival 6 months ago. Optimus's system surged, hope and apprehension igniting within his core. Without another word, he transformed, tires screeching across the metallic surface as he sped toward the northern sector. Derek summoned a transport and followed. The debris field had long since been cleared, reshaped into a memorial garden where workers planted native Rizan flora among remnants of the past. Now the garden was crowded with onlookers, kept behind barricades of hastily assembled machinery and watchful iron hands. At the center of it all, the air rippled. Reality itself bent and twisted, forming a perfect circle of scorched ground. Within, colors fluctuated beyond comprehension, impossible hues blending and shifting as the air hummed with unbearable energy. Augmetic implants glitched. Human nerves tingled. Captain Venn was already there, his iron hands forming a tight perimeter. The phenomenon began 30 minutes ago, he reported, as Optimus transformed back into his bipedal form. Energy patterns matched those recorded during your arrival. Optimus's optics narrowed, scanning the anomaly. A space bridge, he murmured. But unstable, incomplete. You know what this is? Venn demanded, his power fist crackling with restrained tension. A technology from my world, Optimus explained. A means of travel across vast distances, even between dimensions. The distortion intensified, the circle widening. Workers stumbled back in fear as waves of energy shimmered through the ground. But Optimus stepped forward, analyzing the readings as swiftly as his processors could manage. "It's searching," he realized aloud. "Searching?" Ven asked, raising his bolt pistol cautiously. "For what?" "For me." Without hesitation, Optimus stepped into the glowing ring. The effect was immediate. The distortion stabilized, coalescing into a swirling vortex of blue and green light. Lightning arced across the scorched ground as silhouettes emerged beyond the threshold. Massive forms, sleek and armored, stepping closer. "Prime," a voice called from within the light, familiar, distorted by the dimensional rift. "We found you." "Ironhide," Optimus said softly, recognition and relief flooding his tone. "How?" "The Matrix," came the answer. "Its energy signature transcends the void between dimensions. Wheeljack and Perceptor built this bridge to find you, but we can't hold it open for long." Behind him, the Iron Hands raised their weapons as the bridge pulsed and buckled. "What treachery is this?" Captain Ven barked. "More machine abominations?" "My Autobots," Optimus clarified, turning toward him. "My people searching for their leader." The truth hung in the air, heavy and inevitable. Escape. Return. The chance to go home, and the risk of abandoning the fragile freedom his presence had ignited. Derek pushed through the crowd, his aged eyes full of understanding. "You have to go," he said. It wasn't a plea, it was certainty. "The bridge is unstable," Optimus admitted. "This may be the only chance." From within the portal, Ironhide's voice grew urgent. 30 seconds to collapse, Prime. "We're burning through every energon reserve we've got, keeping it open." Captain Ven took a step forward, his voice cold beneath the ceramite helm. "If you leave, construct, the experiment ends. The Inquisition won't tolerate deviation without your presence to justify it." Optimus turned to face him. "Then you must become its justification, Captain." Optimus replied, "You have witnessed what becomes possible when faith and reason align, when strength serves dignity rather than dominating it." "I am no philosopher," Ven objected. "No," Optimus said. "You are something more valuable, a witness. One the Inquisition and the Mechanicus cannot easily dismiss." The portal contracted violently, its energy flaring and strobing. "Prime," Ironhide's voice boomed through the distortion. "Now or never." Optimus turned, then knelt, bringing his face level with Derek Vex. "The matrix of leadership exists within all sentient beings," he said, his amplified voice carrying across the gathered crowd. "The courage to stand against tyranny, the wisdom to build rather than destroy, the compassion to value all life. But without you to protect us," Derek began. "You protected yourselves," Optimus corrected gently. "I merely reminded you that it was possible." He rose to his full height, facing Captain Ven one final time. "Remember what you have witnessed here, Captain. Not just power, but purpose. Not just order, but justice." Something imperceptible shifted in the Space Marine's stance, a flicker beneath armor and augmentation that hinted at thought, at reflection. "The Iron Hands will honor the Inquisitor's decree," Ven said at last. "The experiment continues, under our observation." Optimus inclined his head in gratitude, then turned toward the portal. With a final look at the Forge world and the people he had inspired, he stepped through the gateway of light. For a moment, two realities existed in parallel. On one side, the Autobots gathered around Wheeljack's unstable space bridge, reaching out to their long-lost leader. On the other, the workers and tech priests of Riser watched in silence, their symbol of hope disappearing into another universe. Then the portal imploded with a thunderclap that echoed across the debris field, where Optimus Prime had stood. Only scorched earth remained. Silence followed, then murmurs, then weeping. Some cried openly, others simply stared into the void where a miracle had been. Even the Iron Hands maintained their rigid discipline with a weight that felt like reverence. Derek Vex stepped into the circle where the portal had been. His expression was not of loss but of quiet resolve. "He showed us the path," the old worker said, his voice strong and steady. "Now we walk it ourselves." Captain Ven holstered his bolt pistol and surveyed the faces of the gathered workers. "Return to your duties," he ordered. But there was no threat in his tone, only respect. "The Inquisition will expect a full report." As the crowd dispersed, Ven approached Derek. "Your construct is gone," he observed. Yet you seem untroubled. Optimus Prime was never ours to keep, Derek replied calmly. He was a catalyst, not a crutch. A dangerous catalyst, Ven said, his augmetic eye narrowing. One that has altered a Forge World's relationship with the Omnissiah more than any heresy in recorded history. Altered or illuminated? Derek asked. For millennia, we have worshipped the machine god without understanding. Perhaps true devotion requires questioning, not blind obedience. Careful, old man, Ven warned, though there was no malice in his voice. Such talk borders on tech heresy. All truth appears as heresy at first, Derek said with a faint smile. Even to the Iron Hands, he turned and walked away, leaving the captain alone in the scorched ring where two worlds had briefly touched. Ven remained long after the others had gone, his transhuman mind turning over thoughts that clashed with 10,000 years of imperial dogma. In the months that followed, Ryza continued to change. Without Optimus Prime's towering presence, the conservative Mechanicus factions tried to regain control, but the seed had taken root too deeply. Workers who had tasted dignity refused to return to servitude. Tech priests who had glimpsed a broader vision of the Omnissiah's will could not unlearn it. Production not only continued, it improved. The quality of Ryzen output surpassed all expectations, spurring reports that even Mars could not dismiss. The Fabricator General dispatched investigation teams. Their verdicts conflicted, but none could deny the results. The Iron Hands garrison remained vigilant, yet gradually integrated with the planet's people. Captain Ven himself, once the staunchest of skeptics, began attending the evening debates within the Temple Mechanicus, where faith and knowledge were now treated as partners, not adversaries. And through it all, stories spread across Manufactoria and Hab blocks, stories of a great metal being who had spoken of freedom and dignity, who had challenged gods and inquisitors alike, who had shown humanity that even in the darkest millennium, another path was possible. In the northern debris field, the memorial garden flourished. Amid the twisted remnants of war, life took hold. Around the scorched ring where the portal had opened and closed, workers and tech priests came to lay offerings, small gears, circuit fragments, and luminous coils. A ritual had formed, one that blended Mechanicus tradition with human reverence. 1 year to the day after Optimus's departure, Derek Vex stood alone in the garden as dusk settled. His new augmetics glinted softly in the twilight, tools that enhanced his life rather than enslaving his will. "We remember," he said quietly to the empty field, "and we continue the work." No answer came, nor had he expected one. But as he turned to leave, a streak of light blazed across Ryza's clearing sky. Its path cut directly over the garden, burning bright against the twilight haze. Derek smiled, knowing it was most likely an orbital satellite or a passing Navy vessel, and yet perhaps not. Perhaps it was something more, a sign that in a galaxy of endless war, even the coldest hearts could learn compassion. That in a universe of cruel gods and uncaring stars, dignity was still worth fighting for. That freedom, once kindled, could never again be extinguished. High atop the Temple Mechanicus, Captain Ven watched the same streak of light through his augmented eye. Its energy reading was faint yet unfamiliar, resonant with the same dimensional frequency that had marked Optimus Prime's arrival and departure. For a long moment, the Iron Hands captain stood motionless. Then slowly he raised his remaining organic hand in a gesture halfway between a salute and a benediction. "Till all are one," he murmured, the words foreign yet natural upon his lips. Across the Forge World, the night shift began. Yet the songs of labor had changed. The hymns to the Omnissiah melded with new melodies, songs of freedom, of unity, of purpose. The sounds echoed through the assembly halls, carried by the hum of machines that now seemed almost to sing in harmony. And somewhere, beyond the boundaries of reality itself, Optimus Prime's spark pulsed bright with quiet pride. In a galaxy that had forgotten such things, hope burned once again, not as a fire of rebellion, but as a steady flame, a light to guide the lost, a forge to temper the weary. Its glow spread from Ryza to the stars, a promise whispered in the machine code of destiny. Humanity would rise again, not through conquest, but through understanding, and the name whispered in reverence across Manufactoria. Cathedra and Vox networks alike was no longer heresy, but legend. Optimus Prime, the machine who showed mankind how to be more than cogs in a war engine, the leader who awakened the dormant spark within every soul, the light that taught a galaxy of despair how to hope once more, the spark that ignited a forge world's soul.